My name's Adrian Baschnonga. I'm Lead Telecommunications Analyst at EY, and today I'm going to be talking about customer attitudes to bundles of telephony, broadband and TV. Just kicking off, a bit of background. What have we done? Well, we've actually surveyed 2,500 UK households. We're looking at their attitudes to services, these bundles that incorporate telecommunications and TV services. This was conducted in April 2016. The survey results were launched last week. And we've also segmented the UK market into 7 distinct categories. We've got a lot of interesting headline findings. I think drilling down into some of the segmentation, which is based on 54 attitudinal questions, you can see that there's a very diverse set of customer attitudes at play. So just a bit of context before we look at the survey results themselves. What do we mean when we talk about residential bundles? Well, we're talking really actually about the battle for the home, right? We're talking about big telcos, big TV players really competing for share of the household wallet. And just a timeline here that really shows developments in the last 10 years. If you think about household bundles, there's a lot of interest in mobile bundles right now. Actually, the first mobile or quad play bundle was launched way back in 2007. And a lot of uptake of bundles began in 2006. You had a lot of voice and broadband double play, so-called double play offers, a lot of competition on price. But what's happened in the last 10 years? Broadband speeds have increased nearly 20-fold. Time spent online has doubled to about 20 hours a week on average. And adults watching TV and film online has more than tripled. So the bundle's been there all the way through, but consumer behavior has really changed vastly over that period of time. So if we think about some of the headline messages, and I'll drill down into all the data in the slides to come, but what are we really finding? And this is really the kind of narrative that we've created on the back of the survey findings. First off, the bundle market is very mature and complex, right? It's originally positioned as a very simple way of people to buy a number of services, usually a discount on the sum of the parts. What we're finding is it's a bit of a jungle, which is why it requires a bit more navigation. Customer attitudes to the different elements comprising these bundles are pretty mixed. You can see a lot of sort of contrary viewpoints. People are happy with some of their broadband services, less happy with other aspects, typically pretty happy with TV. Mobile, a few question marks about how you integrate that into a bundle package. Digital home is evolving, and we can see plenty of signs of that. We did conduct a similar survey in 2013. And content consumption is also changing quite markedly. But there are caveats, important caveats attached to that in terms of sort of the demand scenario. If we look at switching propensity, we can see that that's actually rising as well. Now that's pretty interesting because bundles are seen as a way of locking customers in, increasing loyalty. We actually see that switching propensity is going up. And then as mentioned, if you look into the segmentation side of things, you can see we've got a really diverse set of customer attitudes. There's no one-size-fits-all approach. So if we look at the types of bundles that people are taking up, and here you can see the types of packages that people are taking, 2013 compared to 2016, you can see there's been an uptick in TV-based bundles, bundles that include mobile, and a downtick in bundles that include broadband and line rental with or without some fixed line telephony. Now that's pretty simple, and hopefully that divides the services up quite neatly. As you can see, the bundle market is mature. 93% of broadband households now take some form of bundle. But actually, if we drill into what actually comprises these bundles, it's pretty complex. And the industry often talks about double play, triple play, voice broadband TV, quad play, voice broadband TV, and mobile. But actually, if you look at what comprises 2 services, for example, or 3 services, or 4 services, it's quite a mixture of different service elements. And if you look at the TV packages, for example, they're split between TV packages that have premium content, which would be sports and movies, basic content, and then free TV. And you've seen a number of OTT propositions enter the fray. So actually, the number of offers in the market has increased. Those types of offers, they're not like for like necessarily. There are certain delineations between the types of services, the contract terms, the T&Cs, etc. So there's a complex array of offers in the market. Now, if we look at why people are taking up bundles, convenience of a single point of contact for customer service, convenience of a single bill, price savings, right? Now, those top three reasons haven't changed between 2013 and 2016. What's interesting, though, is the number of respondents citing that those top three drivers has actually fallen. So what's happening to the rationale for bundling? It's historically very much around convenience and price, but the number of people citing those reasons has actually gone down. Probably the good news for operators and TV providers, and that's evidenced on the chart on the right, where you can see satisfaction and propensity to switch, satisfaction in grey, propensity to switch in yellow. And you can see that the more services you take, particularly with those TV-based bundles, which are further down the chart, the more satisfied you are and the less likely you are to switch. So far, so good. You know, the bundling rationale still holds up. You take these more sophisticated services, they include content, you're more satisfied, you're more likely to stay. But actually, if we start drilling down into what consumer attitudes are to these different bundle elements, we can see a more variegated picture emerging. We actually see that reliability trumps the need for speed. We had an attitudinal statement, you know, the reliability of my home broadband is more important than speed, and you can see 61% agree with that. Now, all the advertising in the market is predicated on speed, doubling speed for free, etc., etc. You can see here, actually, reliable broadband is more important than speed per se. Good news in terms of those TV bundles and reflected in the higher satisfaction, the lower switching propensity. When we asked in 2016 whether households think that they get good value for money from the TV services that they purchase, a rising proportion believe that is the case. And that's probably reflecting the wider range of TV offers, less just premium content offers, more OTT content, for example. One of the key findings this time round is around mobile bundles. And what do people really think of mobile bundles? And here's some quite emphatic findings coming from consumers. 55% of households would only be interested in mobile bundles if it included a significant discount on the standalone price. Right? So we've talked about price savings as a reason for taking up bundles. That's emphatic when it comes to considering mobile bundles. 32% of people disagree that purchasing mobile as part of a broadband bundle is a logical purchasing decision. Now, that's a constraint on the addressable market, for example. 1/3 of people just say, you know, I don't know whether a personal product really sits together with a household product. They don't see them as natural bedfellows, if you like. And only 22% would be interested in a mobile bundle if it offered features such as TV and streaming options on their device when they're out of the home. So you look at that demand for price savings, 55%, and you look at the 22% saying they'd be interested if there was some measure of content, some kind of multi-device capability, in and out of the home functionality. Very interesting. And probably, you know, a key theme of our study this time round is that when we compare some of the pain points between 2013 and 2016, we see that the picture hasn't improved for consumers. If consumers are looking at bundles, and we've identified some very interesting data points here, all that advertising on speed, 40% of people don't know the speed, the maximum advertised speed of their broadband connection. And that's actually inched up since 2013. A similar proportion find communication services difficult to understand, difficult to find a package that meets their needs. Same amount find it difficult to change provider. And critically, if you look at people saying that it's difficult to upgrade or downgrade, and remember, we are in an era of cross-selling and upselling, and we've heard how telcos are moving into adjacent markets, a rising proportion find it difficult to upgrade or downgrade their existing package. So what does this all mean? And here again, you know, a few 2013, 2016 data points. We've got a statement. There is very little, no difference between the services offered by different broadband providers. Now remember, we're in a landscape where there's never been more offers, and I think you picked up on this earlier today, Mark. That's actually gone up. 32% agree in 2016 versus 30% in 2013. There's more offers. Everyone's trying to differentiate. The people seeing that differentiation has actually gone down. Right? And so in that environment, is it any surprise that price sensitivity on the bottom left is actually going up? If people can't see differentiation, if they struggle to see a value proposition, they'll just look at the one thing that they do understand, which is the monthly price. On the top right, you can see introductory offers are a source of confusion rather than clarity. A lot of people say, yes, intro offers, that's a reason why I sign up for bundles, that plays a role in my purchasing decision. More people say that it actually makes it difficult for them to work out which package represents the best value. And if you look again at price comparison sites, more people using price comparison sites. All told, this means that when we asked people, how likely are you to change your broadband provider in the next 12 months, a rising proportion in 2016, 25% were either very or quite likely to switch broadband providers. And that's up on 2013. And remember, we're talking bundles here, which is supposed to increase stickiness. If we sort of widen our focus a little bit and think more about the digital home, and I think there's a lot of change here. We talked about shortening tech cycles. Tablets launched in 2010, for example. 5 years later, 4 in 10 households are using them. Innovation is quickening. We understand that. And yes, households are increasingly tech-centric, for example. Mobile devices are gaining ground. There are more people using smartphones and tablets as a frequent source of accessing the internet at the expense of laptop and PC. But interesting to think, quite what is the pace of that innovation? I think some of our findings suggest it's not as fast maybe as everybody thinks. There are growing concerns about data privacy. So we've got a statement here about comfortableness with disclosing personal financial details. People are feeling less comfortable now than they were 3 years ago. And if we think about the smart home, using it or purchasing smart home services within the next 5 years, there's a substantial rump of people who are just not ready for that yet. Now, if we drill down into content itself, there is good news. People are taking up iPlayer services. Netflix has gone from 7% in 2013 to now 20% of daily or weekly usage, for example, just in a 3-year period. There's no doubt that OTT services are increasing at a rapid rate. But interestingly enough, legacy content consumption remains pronounced. So when we ask people, my household mainly watches TV on the 5 traditional channels, now whether that's catch-up content or not, that's actually increased in the last 3 years, which is a little bit counterintuitive. You'd think the world is just moving to OTTs. No, it's not. Actually, people are still focusing on those long-standing content brands. And if we think about demand for mobile and multi-device content, that's at an early stage. And here we've got a number of attitudinal statements referring to mobile content over Wi-Fi as opposed to downloading and watching later. People often streaming online video on multiple devices at the same time, watching long-form content, for example, when on the move, and paying a premium to stream catch-up TV without adverts. And you can see, those who agree that they'd like to do that far outweighed by the disagrees. And actually, when we look at reasons to switch provider, everything that I've just been talking about in terms of confusion, for example, low price, that scores much higher as a reason to switch providers, an attribute that you'd look for in a new provider. Some of the content-related options, so premium TV content, for example, ranks much lower. And maybe finally a few words about the different customer segments here that have enabled us to kind of really pick up on the nuances of what households are saying. We've got digital devotees. They're young, they're affluent, they're extremely tech-centric. You know, they're signing up to bundles, but they're also crucially not particularly loyal. So you think, you know, that's a dream customer. Hey, they've got a high propensity to switch even if they're satisfied, for example. Content light bundlers. These people do consume a lot of content in and out of the home, but they're not up for the premium type of content. Serious about sport. Critically, they are willing to pay for premium content, you know, EPL, football, etc. Disgruntled users probably act as a microcosm for some of our survey findings at large. You know, they actually are quite tech savvy. They do quite a lot of streaming in the home. They just don't get bundles. They don't understand their broadband speeds, and they're not very satisfied with their broadband providers. So if you're thinking about bringing together content with connectivity, that segment there, you know, they're big content users, but they don't seem to be wanting to buy it within a connectivity package. Bargain hunters, very focused on price. Loyal bundlers, again, very loyal, have come very late to technology, but are pretty sticky customers. And the functional users, they only use the internet when they've got a specific reason for doing so. And just to finish off, final slide, you know, what's the so what here? What does this mean for service providers? If we sort of take the read across from the segmentation and we kind of overlay it on the overall findings and think about how content plays within those packages, for example, you know, we can see that at the bottom center, serious about sport, they're an attractive segment for TV bundles. They understand more than the other segments that mobile could be a logical purchasing decision in bundles. So if you're thinking about the quad play, the all singing, all dancing package with premium content with mobile, that could be an interesting segment, for example. You know, bargain hunters, very knowledgeable, they know all the different offers in the market, yet they also have little interest in premium content and rank 6th for viewing bundles as important. So perhaps going forward, you know, service providers need to think about how they can disassemble or disaggregate the bundle as much as collapse various features together. And that's the end of that sort of whistle-stop tour of our findings. I don't know if we've got time for any questions or best saved. Yeah? Great, great.